Alright, this is the second video in a series of videos on how to make Zool. Working on the first part. Last time we were looking at how to set the tiles and how to make the beginnings of a level. But we realize the tiles aren't objects. They don't interact with anything. They're mainly just like little paintings that you may walk in front of or behind if you're the player object. But we still need the actual objects to interact with to do our programming. So on what layer do you put those as objects? Well, that layer is called the instances layer. Now there's lots of different types of layers. If you look down here, you can create a new layer. Background layer, there's a instance layer, you can do tile layers, there's even something called a path layer. And you can organize these into folders. What we're looking at is the instances layer. But right now, if you haven't talked about what you have to make to be able to do that. Well, we created the sprites. We've got a platform, or we have Zool sprites, but we have to make sprites for the platform. And so here's the ones I was able to excise out of the old version of GameMaker. And I'll make these available in the shared folder. But so let's look at the first one, Sprite Platform. You could just create a green square if you'd like, or you could create a sprite to do that. We want our platform objects to be the same size as our tile objects. So we're making them 16 by 16. What you can do is just take a bucket of paint, just grab the bucket tool here, choose a color, greenish color, and just dump it in there if you just want to create the sprite. That's one way to do it. Close that. Go back to our resources. For the wall sprites, I was thinking we could use blue, dark blue color. The one sprite you'll need to grab is the ledge sprite. If you notice, if we look at it, it's just a purple line right along the top. A ledge is something like, it's a little bit strange. In the game, you're able to stand on top of it, but you can jump through it from the bottom. So it's kind of odd that way. You can use it kind of like a stair step or a ladder type setup, because you can jump through the bottom of the ledge. So again, the same size, 16 by 16, but just put a line right there at the top. Leave the origins all up the top left corner. For the ramps, we're going to use a black box. And for the slopes, we're going to use a kind of a gray box. The only two we're going to worry about today, though, are the platform and the wall. We're going to create those two objects. All right. Let's look at the objects I created then for the platform and the wall. Well, first we have to talk about inheritance and what the inheritance hierarchy looks like. So looking at the book, the inheritance hierarchy is kind of complicated. In the sense that we're not going to use the solid setting that's kind of in the old version of GameMaker. We're going to create an object that's going to be a parent class to all the things that are solid, and we're just going to call it object solid. So we're going to use that as the top of our parent for all the other solid things in the game. So it just needs to exist. Object solid. Doesn't need a sprite because we're never going to put one of those in a game. It just serves as a parent to a lot of the other solid things. So just create object solid and that's it. That's all you got to do. And then there's two things. There's two children of object solid. There's object platform. And we use the platform sprite to represent that. But make sure you go here and set the parent to object solid. so that Zool can stand on it. And then the other one you have to create is object wall. Same setup. You choose the wall sprite this time, but make sure to set the parent to object solid. So I don't think we're going to be relying in this game on the solid property that's available to choose when you create objects. See this solid right here? It's kind of odd that object solid is not marked as solid because we're kind of taking over this whole mechanism of what's solid and what's not by creating our own kind of setup for solid. So now that we have these objects, we can start making actual levels. Let's take a look at the level. So I got a start on it. It's not done yet, but at least it's got a start. So if we look at the room, it's equivalent to a level. If I shut off the tile layers, I'll leave the background there, but turn on the instance layers. You can see that I've put a platform here, and then a wall here, and then another platform, and then a wall and a platform. And if I turn on tile set 1 or 2, you can see that they match up with the tops. The platforms match up with the tops of the fruitcake that I put in. I still need to put in this one, right? But at least I've got it kind of lined up. And then the walls as well. You can see the walls line up with the sides. I haven't put this wall in yet, so let me do that right now. So you want to choose object wall. You can drag that on and plop it there. Now it's complaining, it says you can't drag these resources. It's because my current layer is the tile layer. I need to switch to the instances layer. Just make sure you're on the right layer. That took me a while to figure out. And we'll drag that there. And then if you want to make lots of them, you just hold down the Alt key, and it's kind of like a brush. Okay, that looks good. And then if I just quickly turn on that layer, I can see where to put the other one. I wonder if I can draw it like that while it's in place. No. So let me find that again. I'm watching the square. Not sure how far to go. See if that looks good. Yeah, looks like I've matched it up. The sides are also, actually that's supposed to be a platform. So let me get rid of those. I haven't figured out how to get rid of stuff yet, other than clicking on it and just getting rid of it. So I guess I'm doing that. There's probably a faster way. Certainly. So I need to get the right object. So that's platform again. Turn on the tile layer. See where to start. Okay. And then our wall, I'm thinking needs to be here. So let's take a look. Make these three things. The other thing you have to do, you have to be careful of, is we got to make the bottom solid too. So I think the way this was set up in the other game is these were not. Set. These are actually platforms. So let me switch to platform, hold down the Alt key, and then I'll paint that on. I think that matches up with the shape. You can see it peeking through a little bit around the corners there. All right. So looking at the old level, I can turn off the object layer here. Actually, I want the object, so I'm going to turn off the tile layer. And you can see that's how they have it set up. We're going to need another platform up here. So I'll let you do that. I'll do that offline. But yeah, just put it right up there. And then we'll finish off the rest of this offline as well. Some of these we'll need to talk about, like the ramp, especially the slope. Another slope. That one's kind of hard to put in. So we'll take a look at that. And then move this out of the way. We're missing our background tile layer here. Looks like we have that in place already. So it's starting to look like a level. Now Zool will be able to interact with the platforms, be able to stand on the platforms, and eventually Zool will be able to climb up the walls. But now that we have the walls in place, so I would think the next thing to do would be to create that platform up here using the techniques that we talked about. And we'll use this kind of area as our little test area for Zool. I think it has all the pieces we need to just get started. And then we'll finish off the rest of the level in later videos. All right, thanks.